everybody, and welcome to the Commander Pod, your Magic the Gathering podcast for all things Commander. My name is Kelton Howell.
And I'm Spencer Simpson. This week is another episode of Deck Doctors, and we are covering a Millicent Restless Revenant deck from our friend Natalie.
Yeah, Natalie is one of our good friends. We get to play with her pretty regularly. She hasn't come recently because she actually just had a baby, and
Yay,
that's taking up a lot of
Natalie.
her time. So congratulations, Natalie, but we did want to step in and help her out. This is a deck that she loves to play, but she asked for a little bit of help with, and so we were more than happy to jump in and hopefully provide a little bit of direction and something that can breathe a little bit of new life into this deck.
Yeah, this is one that I think she built when we first started playing together. Natalie and her husband Sam are good friends of ours, and I actually introduced them into Magic. And this is one of the first decks she built. And I think at the time, this was like when I was first getting into Magic as well, and I was trying to get everyone into it. I was evangelizing Magic pretty hard, and I just pointed her to EDH Rec and said, "You can just play the top recommended cards. That's what I do." And I've since changed how I do that a little bit. So this will look a little bit like the Precon with some upgrades to it. And since then, we've defined what we think is mid power a little bit better. And so she wants to bump it to that level, to be a mid power deck that plays maybe some more staples, some more powerful cards, some more powerful synergies and stuff.
And you say bump it. Do you think it's lower than mid power right now?
I think so. At least it's performing lower than mid power.
I think that's probably true.
It may be performing pretty variably, but I don't think it's performing as consistently as she wants it to. And when we look at the deck, I think what we'll see is that's probably because it's not playing enough vegetables, or enough vegetables that are quality enough to push it into a consistent mid power deck.
That's what it looks like to me as well. Let's read Millicent really quick, and we can put it up on the screen so that people can see it here.
Great.
Millicent Restless Revenant is 5 white-blue for a 4/4 legendary creature spirit soldier. With this spell costs 1 less to cast for each spirit you control. It has flying, and whenever Millicent Restless Revenant or another non-token spirit you control dies or deals combat damage to a player, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. It's a spirits deck. One thing to note, Millicent is the face commander for a precon from Crimson Vow?
Crimson Vow, yep.
Crimson Vow.
No, wait.
But
it might be Midnight Hunt, because I think the zombies one was the other one. No, it's Crimson Vow. You're right. It's Crimson Vow. Yeah.
One thing to note, though, this deck didn't start as a precon for Natalie. That's right. She built this.
She bought it as a precon, I think, actually.
Oh, she did, and then upgraded it. Okay, that's good to know. That's actually very helpful to know.
Yep. So I think it could be good to talk about the things that Natalie likes about the deck, because what we want to do is maintain all of the things that make the deck fun for Natalie, while also powering it up a little bit, so we don't lose ourselves in, well, what if this wasn't actually Spirit's deck and we made it something else, right? So some of the things that she has told us she really enjoys about the deck is that it can kind of sit in the background a little bit and not feel as threatening as other decks might, because you're only getting little spirits. And then you kind of just accrue an overwhelming advantage of spirits and can attack pretty freely and not worry about blocking because you create spirits. And so it's more safe that way. And I think some of the other things she likes about it is that it currently plays some things that phase her creatures out. And so it can kind of out of nowhere be pretty threatening and attack, and then also survive like a board wipe, which Millicent already kind of does, right? Because your spirits turn into more spirits. But it keeps it resilient that way as well.
And maybe we can read between the lines a little bit and focus on that resiliency aspect. That it's not necessarily phasing out, but maybe just how resilient it is. Though I personally, we talked about this before we started recording, I personally really like the idea of phasing out thematically, and in terms of flavor, and I think it could be really cool to make phasing like a sub-theme of the deck, that these spirits are phasing in and out of existence, or that they're making other things or people phase in and out of existence. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think that could be super, super flavorful. It's because ghosts go through stuff. They phase through stuff.
Yeah.
I think it'd be awesome. Honestly, Millicent was a commander. Now that I'm reading Millicent as a more mature Magic the Gathering player, I really, really like Millicent. And at first, when the decks got printed, I read Millicent and thought, that looks not very cool. But the fact that, so it's a 7 mana 4/4, which is, a huge mana cost. But the fact that each of your small spirits are basically non-tapping, convoking mana rocks for Millicent is crazy. And then the fact that the non-token versions just turn into more when they deal combat damage, and they're typically flying and will typically be able to get through for damage is also pretty nuts. I think Millicent in the command zone has a lot of built-in resiliency. I think what we're probably most worried about is running out of cards. Like running out of stuff to do, right? Because Millicent, as long as there's not like multiple board wipes in a row, will always be able to be cast for relatively cheap, I think.
Yeah. No, I think that's very true. That's a really good observation. And I don't think we discussed that before we started recording, but I think you're right. I think this deck really is going to rely on card advantage. I think that's going to be really important for this deck to feel like it's running smoothly.
Yeah. So as far as ways the deck can go, obviously spirits, right? I think we want this to stay a spirits deck. I don't think Millicent wants to be anything other than a spirits deck. I think that's kind of the nature of Millicent. But when we pull the deck list, you'll notice that and we'll talk about this as we get into the. Should we pull up the deck list right now? I guess.
Let's do it. Let's jump into it.
Let's just jump into it, and then we can talk about the directions we want to go. So let's pop over to Moxfield. Here we are. So
and one thing about Millicent to note, I think, is it can be taken a lot of different directions, and that's okay. And there are going to be a lot of people who want to build Millicent a lot of different ways, and that's great. You should build Millicent however you want to. There's like kind of this token go wide theme. There's kind of this like graveyard theme potentially. Spirits care about things like in Kamigawa. They cared, I think, about like artifacts and enchantments, and in Crimson Vow they cared about enchantments or disturbing, right? Disturb. So I think there's kind of like a lot of different themes that you could go with for Millicent in terms of like being a spirits commander.
Yeah, they always tend to have some sort of sub theme, which I don't think a lot of other tribes do. Like a lot of other like zombies. I mean, the sub theme is like reanimating, but that's pretty consistent throughout zombies. Or like vampires care about dealing combat damage and like bloodthirst or whatever stuff like that. I guess blood tokens was a vampire thing, but it's hard to find a lot of consistency within spirits. I was noticing in terms of like what the spirits themselves want to focus on. Fortunately, I think Millicent provides a lot of that for us in the command zone, and we can just play the best spirits and get whatever their secondary benefit is as part of playing those spirits. I think one of the things we wanted to focus on though was playing smaller spirits. Right now, the deck only has one mana spirit and then a handful of 2 mana spirits. And I think that may not be what we want to be doing, right? Because each spirit, not even non-token spirit, each spirit counts towards discounting Millicent and then making more spirits. And so do
you want to scroll down to the curve so that we can see
let's look at the curve.
how the permanents look in the curve? So all of anything that's like a pink, that kind of bright pink magenta color, those are going to be the permanents in the curve. So first off, this deck is running so many permanents compared to spells. And the majority of them sit at 3 mana value or higher. And yeah, it's interesting, which I think is totally a fine way to build this deck.
I think it's totally fine. And I think a lot of the 3 mana spirits we'll see have a lot of good secondary effects, which I think is very good. But I think often if there's a 3 mana spirit that has like a subpar effect and maybe even subpar stats, we'd be happier with a 1 mana spirit with flying that can get in to make more spirits, right?
Because no matter the mana value, they discount Millicent.
Yes.
And then they also die into a 1/1.
Yes.
So lower is probably better in that scenario. So I do think that we want to try and bring the curve of the deck down to closer to 2 and have a lot of cheaper spirits rather than the larger spirits.
Yeah, agreed. I think the low mana value takes up more. If we're scoring a card, we're weighting a little bit more towards the mana value of a spirit than we might otherwise be. So, cool. Let's some other things we talked about that maybe we wanted to try to do with this deck was like Convoke. We don't think Convoke wants to be like a main theme of this deck necessarily, but because of the sheer mass of tokens we'll be creating, I think this deck will benefit pretty heavily from playing cards that have Convoke.
I think that just naturally this deck is going to be able to take advantage of Convoke.
For sure. I think so too.
We don't have to try. We don't have to put anything convoke stuff in it, like to enable convoke. I think the deck naturally enables convoke.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need. Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say the same thing you just said, except differently. So I stopped
words.
talking. And we already talked about phasing out. That was another thing we wanted to maybe as a theme of this deck. We don't need to lean into that super heavily. It doesn't need to be a 10-15 card theme, but it can be a fun flavor win to include some cards that do phasing out.
Two themes that really stuck out to me that I think would be really cool that I would potentially try and put into the deck if it were just my deck. Number one is some additional stacks. There are just some really good stacks pieces on spirits. And because I like that Natalie enjoys how this deck plays, where it's kind of a little bit slower to get online and becoming a threat. And I think Azorius Stacks really leans into that pretty well and really helps that theme. So maybe we can still sneak some stacks pieces in there. And I'm not talking about stasis or anything like that. Just some light taxing I think would be really great for this deck because they're just stapled onto spirits anyways. As well as because there are spirits from Kamigawa that kind of punish artifacts. And there's a couple cards that I think could fit in really well with the phasing sub theme as well that would benefit from us playing no artifacts. I think this could also be a very interesting no artifacts build. I don't think that's the case for Natalie and for the way that we want to build this deck now, but I do want to point out that I think that could be a fun way to build this deck as well.
Yeah, it may not necessarily be the direction we want to go, but I do think this could cater very well towards that, both because there are cards that will, like you were saying, with a non-artifact build, there are cards that would enable that are spirits, which is pretty cool. But I don't think this deck is as hungry for ramp as other decks are, because our spirits count as ramp, basically. Not for each other, but if we're moving the mana curve, especially if we're playing
towards
lower
Millicent.
Cost spirits, towards Millicent, right, who is
kind
of our
so
main
imagine
engine
every spirit in your deck is a 1 mana spirit, then you're just every spirit you play is ramping you towards Millicent. That's actually really cool. That's really cool.
Exactly. And if we have some effects that are going to maybe draw us cards off of cheap things entering, which we might be talking about a little bit later, then that could help as well to not have us run out of steam because we're playing so many low CMC creatures.
Right now, Natalie, I think, has 40 creatures in the deck. 35 of them are spirits. Is that right?
Let's see. I think we can group by subtype. Let's see.
34.
34
with a shapeshifter. So,
shapeshifter could be fun. There could be some cool shapeshifters.
Yeah, there could be. I mean, I think Mirror Entity is very good.
Yeah.
Do you have a target for how many spirits you want to end up with in a typal deck?
I think what we've talked about previously was 30 would be the bare minimum, and 35 is probably a pretty good average.
That's kind of where my head is at as well. I usually shoot for 35 is what I go for. So 40 I think is awesome. If we could have 40, that'd be sick, but I do think that 35 is a really good number to shoot.
Yeah, and that's where we're at right now, right? We've got unless it counts Mirror Entity as a spirit because it's a shapeshifter. No, it doesn't. Mirror Entity is technically a spirit though in this deck. And we may not want this, but we'll see. So cool. So we are running a sufficient number of spirits, though we may not be running the right spirits or the spirits that we want to make this deck run smoothly. And the other thing we noticed was that we're a little short on lands. 33 is not gonna.
That's right.
Not gonna cut
would you mind just sticking 3 lands in there, and then we just won't have to worry about lands? In our last Deck Doctors video, we didn't adjust the mana base. We just got it to the correct number, and then said, after this, we would go through and we would add the right lands to balance the colors correctly. Just for the sake of time, these videos go pretty long. We probably won't do it in this video unless we end up with a lot of extra time. So just be aware, we'll probably just leave the lands looking like this, and we can go back in later and fix it. But we won't pay particular attention to the mana base.
Yeah, we've talked about this several times. In our playgroup, we just advocate for playing good mana bases. So we're not going to...
We rule 0 proxying for mana bases so that nobody has to worry about playing bad lands.
Yeah, we want people to have less non-games, fewer non-games, because they're but because their lands are good. So 36 is generally the number we've landed on. Other sources will say 37, 38, or whatever. I've been so happy with 36 in every deck that I've been playing with 36.
Yeah. Looking at the stats and running the numbers, I think we're really happy with 36.
Yeah, I think we've loved it, and especially in a deck like this that's going to be playing a lot of lower CMC creatures. So it could be that we even cut to 35, but that's the greedy fewer lands player in me. I'm biased because I have a Strephon deck, which is actually from this same set, that plays 32 lands, 31 lands, and has hardly ever struggled with with mana. So that's my one outlier that I always lean on when I try to convince myself to play fewer lands in a deck. So anyway, we're not going to do that. 36, I think, is the number we're going to play today.
Let's jump into vegetables. We did take some time to tag these things beforehand. I will say that we were pretty loose with our definitions. There are some things that I don't think are very good card advantage or very good interaction that we did tag, because technically it could be used as card advantage or interaction, but I think we'll want to go through and tighten it up. So why don't we start by just going through what is currently in card advantage, and if there's something that we don't feel like is going to fit the bill very well, we can move it over to the considering board. How does that sound?
I love it. I think that's perfect. Okay. So starting with Spectral Sailor, I think this one's a yes. This one may not actually count as card advantage, because 4 mana to draw a card in Commander is not a good rate at all.
Yeah, I would be okay counting this. We're shooting for like 13 pieces of card advantage. That's generally the number that we like to start with. I would say I would consider this like my 14th piece of card advantage. Like I'll want to. I'm fine including it on the list, but I'll want to have like 13 other ones. But this is a great spirit. This is what we were talking about. We want a cheap spirit. The fact that it has flash is awesome. It can come in as a surprise blocker that then dies into another 1/1. So awesome. We want this card in the deck.
A great spirit that we definitely want. We have it in the card advantage list, like you said, low on the list, and we're counting it here, but as a result, we may want to run just a little bit more card advantage than 13. So the next one being Ghostly Pilferer, kind of the same thing here. Just a great spirit, a spirit that can be unblockable if we discard a card, and will draw us cards when people cast their commanders, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty great, and it kind of does it's called Key to the City, right? That has these same effects where you can discard a card to make something unblockable, then when you untap it, you pay 2 and draw a card.
Yeah, and this is on a spirit, which is way better.
Yeah, totally. I say keep it. It's great. It's probably going to draw us at least one card, and then we can just use it as a Key to the City, which can draw cards in the later game.
Yeah, and hopefully, if we're playing enough cheap spirits, we have the mana to spare when this untaps to just say, "Oh, I draw a card." And 2 mana to draw a card. 2 mana to draw a card is a clue, right? And so that's like, if we're counting clues towards card advantage, I think this should be there as well.
People are probably listening to this and thinking of the ceiling on this card too, and we should mention that if you are in a matchup against like a Cascade deck or like a deck that casts any spells from exile, this card is going to go through the roof. It's going to be one of the best cards in your deck. So there are really high performing situations for this card, and it's probably just worth running because there's 3 opponents at the table, and there is a chance that their deck casts things from exile pretty regularly. So I think the floor is good enough and the ceiling is high enough that this should just be counted as card advantage, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. The next one here is one that I think we want to cut. It's Mindspring. X, blue for a sorcery, draw X cards. This is Brain Geyser 2.0, right? This is the same.
There's
effect.
better draw effects. I don't know that we need to keep this one.
Okay, this one moves to considering.
I will also note we're not paying too much attention to budget here. This our play group and Natalie in particular is totally fine with proxying cards, and so we're not going to worry about budget for this particular build.
Nope, we're just trying to make a functional deck. We're not showing any prices here because we'll put in some cards that some people might say, well, that's an expensive card. Why are you recommending that? Because we're going to get it at, what was it, the Hewlett-Packard Secret Lair? Is that the...
No, in HP Masters. Yeah, in Hewlett-Packard Masters.
Right. Yeah, Hewlett-Packard Masters. All right, the next one here is Bygone Bishop. It is 2 and a white for a 2/3 spirit bonus cleric with flying bonus. We like both of those things. And whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 3 or less, which we'll probably be doing a lot of, investigate. This is great. It's not actually drawing us cards, but it is investigating, which will draw us cards, which again, a clue.
I like
Ghostly
this card
Pilferer
a
is kind
lot.
of like a clue.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this card, actually. It was one that I saw as I was just researching spirits, and I was like, oh, I want to put this in the deck. And so I'm actually happy to see that's already on the deck list. So I really like this card.
Me too. I think it's a good include. The next one is also a fantastic include. Bident of Thassa is a crazy good card. It's been the kind of a standard for combat damage centric blue decks for a long time. And I think this is one we want to leave in here. I think it's very good.
Okay. Let's take a pause really quick. Bident of Thassa, Reconnaissance Mission. These are kind of the standard effects for this creatures dealing combat damage. We're going to have a bunch of small flyers. They're going to be able to get in and deal that combat damage. How many of these do we really want? Because I'm not sure how much I'm going to want to play Bident of Thassa and Reconnaissance Mission now that we have Enduring Curiosity.
Yes. Should we add this one to the list?
Yeah, let's just add it right now.
Fantastic card. So you're right that we probably don't want to play all three of them. I do think 2 is not bad.
Yeah. And I do think that Reconnaissance Mission is the worst one.
Okay, yes, but I will say if we have Enduring Curiosity already and we draw into Reconnaissance Mission, we can just cycle it away, which is really good.
So it may be worth running as an additional copy of this effect?
Well, maybe better than Bident of Thassa, potentially. Because the only upside Bident of Thassa has is that you can make your opponent's creatures attack, but you're not worried about opening up attacks necessarily. Okay. But but also part of me is like, run all three. They're going to draw you absurd amounts of cards if you draw into any of them.
Let's just see where we end up with card advantage, and then these can be one of the first ones that we cut.
Okay.
I also, as a note, if you haven't watched one of our deck building videos before, we're not going for perfect on this first round. We're just making a first draft of the deck that then we would want to do a lot of play testing and goldfishing with before we start making additional changes. So this deck is not going to be perfect by the time we finish with it. We're just looking for the next step in this deck's progression.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to finish this one, check in with Natalie, see if she likes it, make some adjustments, and hopefully
do some goldfishing and play
do some goldfishing, get it to a place so that she would be happy with. The next one here, Distant Melody. Mm-hmm. A classic, all-time classic in typal decks. Choose a creature type, draw a card for each permanent you control of that type. I think especially in this deck, like every zombie deck I've ever made, I've taken this out of because you don't make that many zombies, it feels like. Mm-hmm. This is going to make an absurd amount of spirits and draw you an absurd amount of cards.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that Millicent also triggers on when they deal combat damage.
Yeah.
And so I think you're going to have a lot of spirits. I think this is good. I think you need 4 spirits for this to work, and I think you're going to have a lot more than 4 spirits usually.
I think absolutely. You're going to have at least 3 spirits to cast Millicent, and then as soon as you attack with 4, you have 8, which is is a lot. So I think it's a good one to have in here. Again, it's in the 4 mana value slot, which we're not as happy with, but actually I do think we're happy with a lot of our non-creature stuff being 4 mana value potentially,
totally.
Because we want to get our creatures out early, right?
Yeah. And this is good once your creatures are out, so it fits the play pattern as well.
Yeah, we want lower mana value creatures, higher mana value non-creature stuff.
Payoffs.
Enduring Curiosity breaks that a little bit because it is. We should read this one, I guess. It's 2 mana 2/2 or 2 and 2 blue. Sorry, for a 4/3 Cat Glimmer, which is kind of a spirit if we're being honest. They cheated this one by calling it a Glimmer.
Flavor-wise,
it is a spirit with flash, and it says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to player, draw a card. So Bident of Thassa, Reconnaissance Mission effects. But it also says when Enduring Curiosity dies, if it was a creature returned to the battlefield under its owner's control, it is an enchantment. So it is just the stickiest Reconnaissance Mission or Bident of Thassa in the world. So we like this one a lot. Very flavorful. I really like that. I think they did us dirty in Duskmourn by making these glimmers and not spirits, if I'm being honest.
I think they probably thought about it.
Yeah, I think there's probably a reason it's not a spirit for sure.
Yeah.
The next one here is Ethereal Investigator. So 3 and a blue for a 2/3 creature spirit with flying. When it enters the battlefield, investigate X times, where X is the number of opponents you have. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. This is cool because I didn't realize it makes spirits. That's really good.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how I feel about this one once we add more card advantage and then we start comparing it. Because I think we're going to be creating spirits anyway. I don't think we need another spirit creation token engine.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's fine. It's like it's probably equivalent to a 4 mana 2/3 flyer that draws you 2 cards.
That's probably true.
Which is not a bad rate. 4 mana to draw 2 cards and leave behind a 2/3 flyer that then dies into a 1/1.
And three clues, right? You create 3 clues on ETB.
Yeah.
And then
It's probably good. It's probably
paired with some other card advantage that I think we've talked about putting in this deck potentially. I don't know if we want to, but we could talk about putting in this deck.
Yeah. It's also each turn.
Yeah. Which is pretty good. So if you have a spirit die, I guess you'd have to be able to draw off of that spirit dying. I'm thinking of. Can I tell you the card I'm thinking of that like?
Yeah.
You'd have to get both of these.
Enduring
Innocence.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. Let's move this over to card advantage.
That also triggers only once per turn, right?
Right, but it would draw you. Oh, that's true because it only draw you 1 card on other people's turns. Oh, You're right. Okay, well, I still think this is a pseudo spirit that belongs in the deck, right? It's going to draw you a card.
1 white for a 2/1 lifelink. Whenever 1 or more other creatures you control with power 2 or less enter, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn, and then when it dies, if it was a creature, you turn it to the battlefield as an enchantment. So it's another glimmer, and it does the welcoming vampire thing. It's great.
It's awesome. I think it's really good.
Let's leave it in for now, but I think this would be another one that we'd potentially cut once we have more available to us.
Mm-hmm. It is a spirit, which I think, again, puts it higher on the list than otherwise, but yeah. Reconnaissance Mission we've talked about. Angel of Flight Alabaster, 4 mana, 4 and a white for a 4/4 flying angel, which downvote because it's not a spirit. At the beginning of your upkeep, return target spirit card from graveyard to hand. Okay, half an upvote because it cares about spirits.
Yeah, I just think we should cut this one. I just think we're going to find other things that do this better.
I agree. And then Sire of the Storm, whenever you cast a spirit or arcane spell, you may draw a card. Honestly, I'm not stoked on this one.
I'm not either. I think we should cut it. I think it's too expensive for this effect.
Okay, great. We're down to 9. I think we want
with a couple things that we'd be happy cutting. So a couple things that right away hit me in terms of good card advantage for commanders and really good in this deck. Skull Clamp.
Skull Clamp would be insane.
Skull Clamp is extremely good in this deck.
I can't believe that I didn't think about that. That's amazing.
I don't think we want to do anything.
Can I suggest one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Kindred Discovery?
It probably wants Kindred Discovery.
Kindred Discovery would go crazy in this deck.
I am frequently more afraid of Kindred Discovery than I am Ristic Study. And I think it's going to be a power outlier in this deck, but it's also going to be the best like card advantage engine possible in this deck probably. So as long as we're not playing other stuff like Kindred or like Ristic Study, then I think this could be like our one really high power card advantage engine.
Yeah, Kindred Discovery would be a win condition in this deck basically, right? Basically. And so I think that's fine.
And it doesn't slow the game down. And it accelerates the game. It checks off everything that I think is okay in like a game-winning advantage piece.
Yeah, I think so too.
How do we feel about Windfall? I think if our curve is low enough, we're going to be dumping our hand, and it wouldn't feel too bad to just Windfall.
I like that a lot. I like Windfall, especially and also if we're not dumping our hand, we can get some spirits into the graveyard, and we've talked about wanting to potentially do some reanimating some cheaper creatures, right?
Yeah. So, can I talk notably about a card that I don't want to include that I have waffled on?
Yeah.
For this particular deck, Herald's Horn, and I'm going to talk about it now instead of when we get to ramp. So Herald's Horn, if you want to pull it up,
let me pull it up really
we
quick.
Can see it.
Herald's Horn. I'm going to add it to the deck list, and we'll just look at it, and then I'll remove it.
Great.
Herald's
Horn is a 3-mana artifact. When it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. The creature spells you cast of the chosen type cost 1 less to cast, so it discounts all of our spirits by 1. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature of the card of the chosen type, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. So I actually was on this card. I do not run this card very often. It's not a card that I like particularly well. Where I thought it could be good in this deck is if we were playing a lot of 3, 4, 5 mana spirits, then we're going to have a lot of generic mana that we're going to want to discount, and this actually could be pretty good. If we're going to try and get in a lot of 1 and 2 mana spirits, this isn't going to discount things very much because we're going to have a lot of colored pips, and I don't think this is really going to provide very much advantage for this deck. So I don't think we should include it
because
in this
we'd have a
particular
harder
build.
time like quadruple spelling with cheaper.
Yeah, if you let's say you cast something that's 1 blue pip, you cast something that's like a blue and a colorless, and then you cast something that's like a white and a blue. Like,
Yeah.
you've discounted 1 mana.
Yeah, I mean, we're both down on Herald's Horn kind of generally, but I do think like the discount effects we really only like if we are, like, say we have a 4 mana spell that we're casting for 3 mana and a 5 mana spell that we're casting for 4 mana. We're doing 7 instead of 9 mana, and that's a pretty huge jump.
That's huge. But what we have to remember is that only discounts creature spells.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
And I don't think that we care that much about discounting small mana value creature spells. For the same reason, so I almost never play Herald's Horn. I do play Urza's Incubator. I don't know that we need Urza's Incubator in this deck.
No,
but we're not on ramp yet. So, but in terms of card advantage, I recognize that this does provide card advantage. I don't think it's good enough.
Yeah, no, it's we all of these card advantage engines are just so drastically better than that I think we're happier with these.
Can I interest you in an Idol of Oblivion?
Oh, that's pretty good because you get to tap it to make tokens. Yeah.
Tap it to draw cards when you make tokens.
Or yeah, to draw cards when you make tokens. I apologize. Yes, I think I do like Idol of Oblivion. We'll make that some card advantage here. So if we're getting into other non-spirit card advantage engines, can I also recommend another one in Welcoming Vampire?
Okay, cool.
Oops.
Which is the same as Enduring Innocence.
Which is the same as Enduring
of.
Innocence. Let's scroll down here a little bit. Welcoming Vampire. It is the same as Enduring Innocence, but it's on a 2/3 flyer. And it's not a spirit, so it won't do anything.
Sure.
But we do have some stuff that cares about flying in the deck currently.
Yeah.
It's on a body. I don't know. I don't.
I think it's fine. I think we should minimize the number of non-spirit creatures. I think this and the 2 glimmers so far, I think, get the pass.
Yep.
They can be
Plus, it's from
spirits.
Crimson Vow, so it's thematic in the sense
super-
that that's the set Millicent was from.
Sure, whatever.
It's from Innistrad. Anything from Innistrad is welcome in Millicent's army. Yeah, I do like Idol of Oblivion too. And that actually puts us at a pretty round 14 with Spectral Sailor and especially being one that's like,
And Reconnaissance Mission, which we may just want to cycle away.
Yeah, and Reconnaissance Mission we just want to cycle away. And I do think, honestly, we talked about not wanting Bite of Thassa and Enduring Curiosity and Reconnaissance Mission, but mostly because they're all the same mana value, do the same thing. But we've talked also about how like 3 of a given effect is like the right amount of redundancy for something, where you're likely going to see it. And I don't think we're sad to have 2 of these necessarily, because then we're just like double drawing. And worst case, if we're drawing like so many cards, you just discard it, like to hand size or whatever. If you're overstuffed.
Can I ask, how do you feel about Welcoming Vampire versus Takeshi's Welcome?
Oh, Takeshi's Welcome is mana value 3 or less, right?
Yeah. Which will work with most of our spirits and with all of our tokens. And it's an enchantment, so it doesn't die to board wipes.
Is it in here as a... Did I not add it? Sorry, one second. I might have added another Takeshi's thing. Let me try that again. Takeshi's Welcome. Oh, I probably added Dig Site. Here we go. Takeshi's Welcome card advantage. Whenever one or more creatures with mana value 3 less in the battlefield under control, draw a card. Yeah, okay. So the benefit being it's mana value 3 and less, not power 2 or less. Mm-hmm. And we might have some things that are mana value 3 or less that may have like more than 2 power.
Yeah, just more so that it doesn't die to board wipes. Because
yes,
I think
like
this deck likes dying to board wipes because you get a bunch of
and
flyers
we'd
out
like
of it.
that our card advantage doesn't die to board wipes.
Yeah, and our Welcoming Vampire doesn't come back as a spirit, so it's like not doing anything for us.
Yeah, okay, I like it. Welcoming Vampire, you're out of here. Takeshi's Welcome. Welcome, Takesia.
And it preserves our integrity of not having non-spirit creatures.
Yep, I like that a lot. I think that's pretty good. I mean, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I like that too. Sorry, I'm cheating on our rules.
Very good.
Okay, so that feels pretty good for card advantage. Should we jump over to interaction potentially and see if we're playing the right stuff here? So off the bat, I wish we were also playing Path to Exile. I just feel like that's a good one to be playing, right? In white. So I'm just gonna add that one in because I have no problem with us playing it here, and it's just good. It's just a good card. Maybe that's not a good reason to play it. I think if we're bumping up some mid power, I think this deck wants more interaction. Though I don't think we want very much of interaction to be removal. So I think we're probably looking
more
for a
of
lot
like
of
the
protection.
phasing out tricky stuff.
Yeah, we're doing phasing out tricky stuff. So Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares, I think we like those. Arcane Denial, Counterspell. I'm fine with running 2 counterspells. That doesn't seem excessive for a mid power deck. And I think we should clarify. If we were building this deck, if I were a different person building this deck for a different playgroup, I may include a lot of counterspells. Our playgroup has kind of just limited the number of counterspells we play. I used to play just an absurd amount of counterspells because they're very good. They count as protection, they count as removal, technically for like key pieces, and so they're just phenomenal cards. I have really thinned out the amount of counterspells to the point where I'm not playing like any in some decks that I play blue in even, just because I think they're very powerful, and I think that's the direction we might continue going with this deck because it is going to be playing in our playgroup where we don't play as many. So I think 2 is pretty sufficient here.
I think that's probably fine. Honestly, I do kind of feel like we could add in an offer you can't refuse just because it's like so versatile and does very well at a mid-power table.
Okay, I like that too. An offer you can't refuse is a phenomenal spell. If we're gonna add in counter spells, can I offer one that's thematic?
Sure.
Can we do Geistlight Snare?
Yeah, what is that? I don't even know what that spell
Geistlight Snare is 2 and a blue. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you control a spirit, and also 1 less to cast if you control an enchantment. This is the type of, and it only counters it if they don't pay 3. And so,
what if we put this in instead of counterspell?
I think I would like that. I think that's fun. Okay. Is it non-creature spell? Counter target spell. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Interaction is where we want that to be. Yeah, I think I like that a lot because it's actually better than counterspell if we have a spirit.
Yep.
And they don't have
3 mana.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Okay. Let's leave counterspell in for now. Do you want to replace counterspell with it, and then we can talk about? Okay.
That's fine.
So we just talked about not playing as many counterspells, and now we've doubled the number of counterspells in the deck. So we may end up removing some of those, but I think I don't think these.
Take out counterspell for now.
Okay, we'll move it to considering. We'll take out counterspell. The tough part is those all hit just creature spells as well, which is huge.
Yeah, it's great, except for an offer you can't refuse.
Okay, Darksteel
Mutation. I don't think it's doing anything for this deck. This deck doesn't care about auras or enchantments or anything that this card cares about. There's just better interaction.
Nope, I think we get rid of that one. Remorseful Cleric. Flying 2/1. Sacrifice Remorseful Cleric. Exile all cards from target player's graveyard. It's a 2/1 flying spirit.
I like this one. This is another one that I'm like, yeah, this is number 14. Like I don't want to count it in my core pieces of interaction, but I like that it has graveyard hate and it's a 2/1 flyer for 2.
Agreed. I love it. Shacklegeist. Can only block creatures with flying. Tap 2 untap spirits you control. Tap target creature you don't control. This is not interaction in the sense that it's removing anything, but I think this has gives you really good staying power because you'll have enough spirits to be able to tap at the before combat on someone's turn, be like, hey, where's that creature going? If it's at me, I'm tapping it.
It's also just a 2 mana 2/2 spirit, so I think it's great. Once again, this might be number 15.
Yep,
in terms of interaction,
but fits our deck very well in what we're trying to do. The next one also does that very well. Spectral Adversary, a 2/1 with flash and flying that says when Spectral Adversary enters the battlefield, you may pay 1 and a blue any number of times. When you pay this cost 1 or more times, put that many +1/+1 counters on Spectral Adversary. Then up to that many other target artifacts, creatures, or enchantments phase out. And we like phasing.
We like phasing. This is kind of expensive as a protection spell because you have to cast it for 4 mana to save 1 thing.
Yeah.
But that's probably fine.
I think it's probably fine. And it's a 2
so
mana, 2/1 with flash and flying.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy good in this deck. Dream Shacklegeist. I'm reading so many of these. Do you want to read one, Kelsey? Do you want to read this one?
1 blue for a 3/1 spirit with flying. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to 1 target. Tap target creature. Target creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. I think we cut this one. I don't think we need this.
Okay, time out. Can I give a counterpoint here? It's a 3/1, so it's a pretty heavy hitter in the air. And when I've played against this card previously, as Natalie's played this deck, this one has been so obnoxious because
it keeps a commander tapped down forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you care about attacking at all, you just keep something tapped.
And nobody wants to spend their removal on this.
Yes. I think it's one of the 3-mana spirits that we're okay playing, but we can cut it later if we want to. I like this one a lot though.
I like that it's flavorful. As much of our vegetables that we can have on spirits as possible, the better. So yeah. Let's leave it for now.
Okay, cool. Guy Slight Snare, we've talked about it. Also flavorful. We like it. Imprisoned in the Moon. I've always called it Imprisoned on the Moon, by the way.
Oh, funny. Yeah,
I've always said on. So
into the moon.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry about that. Imprisoned on the Moon. Enchant creature, land, or planeswalker. Enchanted permanent is a colorless land with tap, add a colorless, and loses all of their card types and abilities. We don't care about enchantments. It's a decent removal spell. I don't care to run this necessarily.
I think I'm with you.
It's so
I
mean
personally like this card. Yeah, and it is really mean. I don't think it does anything for us. I don't think that we have a reason to play this over other more efficient interaction.
Yep, I agree, and I think we've got some more interaction that's going to be really flexible that we want to play. That'll be really fun.
Yeah.
So we'll move that to considering. Spectral Shepherd. It's a spirit, 2/2 flying spirit. Return target spirit you control to its owner's hand. This is a pretty cool way to dodge removal on your spirits, including itself. It'll keep itself alive, which is cool. It's probably on the lower end of my list in terms of spirits we want.
I don't think we want it.
Okay.
It's like so great to save Millicent, but also Millicent is easy to cast.
Yeah,
and,
Millicent. When all your spirits die, you cast Millicent for blue-white again, anyways. So
yeah.
I think that's one thing to point out with Millicent too. People might be saying, "Well, what about commander tax?" This reduces commander tax. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each spirit you control. So if we've cast Millicent twice and we have 9 spirits, then Millicent is 2 mana. So which is really good. Okay, next one here is Crush Contraband. I think we're out on this one. Exile target artifact, exile target enchantment for 4 mana. I think we can do better than that.
Yep, I agree.
Okay. Speaking of doing better than that, what do we think of like Generous Gift, like some of the classics?
Generous Gift, Rapid Hybridization, Pongify, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, or like a Generous Gift. I think the ones I'm thinking of right now and Midnight, Stroke of Midnight, are just 2 kind of classics.
What do you think of Generous Gift and Stroke of Midnight compared to Pongify and Rapid Hybridization? Because they're way more expensive, but they hit permanents. Mm-hmm. So they're probably better.
I like that they hit permanents. I really do. Because of things we were talking about with like Kindred Discovery and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like you want to be able to eliminate. Like we played a game the other day where we lost because I held an interaction while you had it on Elhamret's archive and I was looking for something bigger, right?
Yeah.
And I just think being able to hit those like value artifacts and enchantment, it's something that I think
so,
is really
especially where this deck is not starving for mana. So I think
or blockers for big creatures, right? Like we don't care unless something has trample. Then we're just like cool, chump with a spirit. I don't think we're like as worried about creatures as much. And we have 2 of the best creature removals in the game already in Swords to Plowshares and Path to Exile. Though I wouldn't be opposed to playing a Rapid Hybridization or like one of the 2. Do we want to just do? Let's.
I think that. I mean, yeah, maybe just one more.
Should we do?
We already have 4 pieces of spot removal: Path, Swords,
Generous Gift, Stroke of Midnight,
Generous Gift. So
and we have
maybe
4 and we have 3 counter spells currently. So we're at 7. Do we want some more of our interaction to be protection then?
I think we want some protection, and I think we want some board wipe. So some cards that I think will fit really well in this deck are something like. Sorry, I had this open in another tab.
That's okay. Can I guess which one you might have been thinking of?
Sure.
Is Galadriel's Dismissal?
Galadriel's Dismissal. Yeah.
Is that the one? Yep. Is that the one you were trying to pull up?
Yeah, that was one of the ones I was trying to pull up. Yep.
And we like this one because it is phasing out. Yep.
Yeah.
So, and we can use it to protect our board, or as if you've watched our currently only existing, if you're watching this future, we may have more, who knows, gameplay episode where this was used to kind of alpha strike, right? To be an alpha strike for.
It was so good.
It was pretty sick.
Clever Concealment, I think, is another one.
Clever Concealment. Oh, this is the one with Convoke. Oh, yeah. Clever
it's really
Concealment's
good.
crazy.
What color are the spirits that Millicent makes? Are they
White
white?
spirits, yeah.
So
This is
extra good.
this is a free phase out spell. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah, and then maybe like one real board wipe at least. Actually, probably at least two real board wipes. So something like
Can I?
Starfall Invocation, I think
Okay,
could be pretty good.
Starfall Invocation. Let's see. Gift the card, destroy all creatures. If the gift was promised, then return a creature card. Put it this way. Okay, can I recommend one too that I really love and I've been wanting to find a deck for, and I think Natalie will like in terms of the art.
Final Showdown.
Final Showdown, dude. Yeah. It's such
Pretty
a
good.
sick card.
Yeah.
So Final Showdown is where is it?
It's in interaction. It's
Oh,
just
it is
one
because it's
mana.
1 mana. It's spree.
Yeah.
A 1 white for an instant with spree. All creatures lose all abilities till end of turn if you pay 1 additional. Choose a creature you control. It gains indestructible till end of turn if you choose 1 additional, which is doing kind of the Starfall Invocation effect. Or destroy all creatures if you pay 3 white at instant speed, which I think is freaking crazy.
Yeah, it's cool.
But I let's put Starfall Invocation in 2, and we can kind of decide between those.
I mean, honestly, I'm happy with this amount of interaction because some of the stuff like Shacklegeist and Dream Shacklegeist are just not like super.
Yeah, and we're probably happy with 2
core
board wipes,
interaction.
right?
Yeah, I think we need to anymore. Like I'd honestly prefer a format of Commander where there are fewer board wipes, but I think the current state of Commander calls for at least 2 board wipes per deck.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we stopped running board wipes, and then it was like, well, I can't
Can't do
like
that.
if my deck's not fast creatures, then we can't compete. So, no, I agree. Okay, now let's move down to ramp. And I think we take a pause at ramp and we talk amongst ourselves about how much ramp we actually want in this deck. Because our typical number would be 13, is what we've been saying. For a mid-power deck, a good benchmark is 13 pieces of ramp. Especially if we're talking about a commander, like a 4-mana commander that we want to be casting on turn 3, right? Like that's kind of part of our...
Yeah, let's talk about what we're ramping to.
Right.
Because it's not our commander. I mean, it kind of is our commander, but it's not our commander because playing spirits ramps to our commander.
Spirits ramp us to our commander.
We don't need to be playing talismans and signets or whatever for our ramp for our commander. I think what it's ramping us to is double and triple spelling in the late game with card advantage pieces and interaction.
Yes.
So in that case, I think we're okay with like slightly slower ramp. I think we're okay with not as much ramp, maybe like 10 pieces of ramp.
Yeah, 10's probably a pretty decent amount.
Probably just like the best stuff, the 10 best pieces.
Because like the play pattern would be, we probably want to do like, if we do turn 1 spirit, right? Do we do... So should we talk about the quickest we could cast Millicent? So if we turn 1 spirit, Millicent costs 6, right?
Sure.
And then turn 2 spirit, so say we don't play any ramp, right? Turn 2 spirit, Millicent costs 5. Turn 3 spirit, Millicent costs 4, and then turn 4 Millicent.
Recast Millicent. Yeah.
Yeah. And then create 3 spirits. So now on the other side, if we do turn 1 spirit, turn 2 mana rock, turn 3 spirit, and then turn 4 we still get to cast Millicent, and we have more mana to cast other things, right?
Okay, can I say, when you laid out that play pattern, it made me feel like these counter spells are really, really important. Because if I play like a 1 mana creature on turn 1, a 2 mana creature on turn 2, and then maybe like another 2 mana creature on turn 3, and then turn 4 I tap out for a commander, it gets countered, and now all of a sudden I have 3 small creatures that aren't providing me a ton of additional value. Like, I do think we really need to make sure that Millicent sticks, so I don't mind having 3 to 4 counter spells in that case.
Yeah,
because I'd want to wait till I can cast Millicent with protection, with backup.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think it makes a lot of sense. So, Because that is the play pattern, right? Is like so in a world where we're not playing ramp, it's spirit, 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 Millicent, right? Turn 4 is when we can cast Millicent. If we are playing ramp, I think it actually like so. Say again, let's say we were playing stuff like Commander Sphere, right? Which is probably the last one we want to be playing. We want to play 2-mana ramp, right? But we turn 1 spirit, turn 2 we turn 1 spirit, turn 2 we ramp, right, with like an Arcane Signet. Let's actually say Arcane Signet because that's like a pretty standard ramp spell. Turn 3 we have 4 mana, and we're playing a lot of 2-drop spirits, so we spirit, right? And then we still get a turn 4 Millicent. We still get a turn 4 Millicent with 1 additional mana. So I do think we actually like a lot of 2-mana rocks here, but we don't like things like Commander Sphere and Monologue Tax.
No. I think those go. Let's cut those out.
Okay. That was really helpful to talk about, though.
I also don't... Marble, Diamond, and Sky Diamond, I know we like to play, and I think they're fine. I think with a deck like this where we are going to have a lot of small creatures, though, being able to play in the late game a rock untapped, that you can immediately use for mana, I think is better. And since we don't need that much ramp, I think we can cut Marble Diamond and Sky Diamond.
Okay, counterpoint. Can I make a counterpoint to this?
Sure.
Because I do think so. But like, let's say it's turn 3, right? And we play like a Mind Stone, but we need and maybe we need like 2 pips for something. Not that we would need 2 pips. I guess we want it to be untapped on turn 3 to be able to cast a Signet, or cast a Signet and also cast a Spirit, right?
Sure. So or on turn 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? I changed my mind. I do think we probably want more untapped rocks than tapped rocks. Okay. So let's move these considering for now, and then we're down to 3.
And I'm okay with the Signets. Where the Signets do require you to have extra mana to be able to tap them. So you can't do that pattern that we just talked about on turn 2. But I don't care so much about turn 2. I care about the later turns in the game, I think.
Yep, I agree. So
let's do the Talisman and the Signets.
Yep. Mind Stone.
Yeah. I think it's probably fine.
So especially in white, I really like Liquid Metal Torque. I know we're not playing anything that destroys enchantments particularly, or artifacts in particular. Sure. But I do really like Liquid Metal Torque, and it enters untapped.
Okay.
Okay, Liquid Metal Torque. I do think this is a deck where we won't be sad about Thought Vessel.
Yeah, probably. Why not just like Fellwar Stone?
Oh, Fellwar Stone, yeah. What are some other untapped rocks that we've talked about this?
We could do what about some stuff like Sword of the Animist? Because we have a bunch of flyers.
Ooh. Okay. Sword of the Animist. So Sword of the Animist is a 2-mana equipment that equips for 2. Equip creatures +1/+1. And when it attacks, you search your library for a basic land card, put on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. I don't hate that, actually. That's pretty good.
I don't run Sword of the Animist in a lot of decks, but I actually feel like this could be one of the decks that would benefit from that.
I think part of the reason Sword of the Animist is not good in other decks is because your creature has a high chance of being blocked and dying. But in this deck, we're not as worried about that.
And also, we're okay with stuff dying.
I like Sword of the Animist. And it sticks on the battlefield to continue ramping you each turn.
Do we want to include any of the 3-mana stuff like Midnight Clock? That's just also kind of passively a card advantage.
I mean, Midnight Clock is pretty crazy. Okay, thinking about our play pattern again. We turn 1, play a Spirit. Turn 2, play a 2-mana Spirit. In a perfect world, we can turn 3 Midnight Clock into another 1-mana Spirit, I guess. Right?
Sure, in a perfect world, yeah.
In a perfect world. Because that's what I'm saying, though. Because like in a perfect world that is way more likely, if we have a 2-mana rock, we can, on turn 3, play a 2-mana rock and a 2-mana Spirit. Because we're playing a lot of 2-mana stuff, right? So, let's add it. I say we add it, and then if we look at our list later and we don't like it, we can cut it. Midnight Clock. If we're on the Midnight Clock train, are we also on the shoot, what's it called? The signpost, misleading signpost.
Oh, maybe.
That one's kind of a fun one that doubles interaction that I have thought is really fun.
Yeah. Do you think that, here's a question. Do you think Natalie would enjoy misleading signpost?
I think she might actually really like misleading
in that case,
signpost.
I think it should go in the deck.
Okay, sweet. I think it's awesome. Okay, we're up to 11, which is pretty close to 13.
Yeah, I don't think we need any more than that.
Okay. I think that's pretty good. And I like that a lot of it's 2 mana.
Metal Torque.
Actually, can
Or
I
Thought
suggest
Vessel.
one?
Can we cut Thought Vessel?
Yeah, let's cut Thought Vessel. Okay.
Or Liquid Metal Torque. I think those are the 2 weakest ones.
I think we cut Liquid Metal Torque. We don't care about artifacts. And I think we will be able to draw a ton of cards if we get out one of our card advantage engines.
Sure.
Right?
That makes sense.
Although we don't, maximum hand size, we should talk about this really quickly. Maximum hand size is not a big deal. Like, don't worry about maximum hand size. Because
especially for some of the other cards that we think we might want to put into this
so
deck
maybe we
that we'll
don't
get
do
to
Thought
in a
Vessel, actually.
moment.
Should we drop Thought Vessel? Because we actually would be sad to have a maximum hand size if we're trying to reanimate a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so let's cut Thought Vessel. Can I give a suggestion for our 10th Mana Rock?
Sure.
It is Spring Leaf Drum.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because if we play a 1-mana creature on turn 1, it basically turns into a mana dork if we can get a Spring Leaf Drum on it, right?
Sure.
And it turns our spirits into, like, it could be something.
Yeah, it turns our spirits in. Because I was thinking something like we could use Ashnod's Altar or something like that. But I actually think I like Springleaf Drum better.
Okay. I think Springleaf Drum is pretty fun in this deck. Now, it doesn't help us. Oh, it does help us cast Millicent still, which is pretty cool.
In 2 ways. Yeah.
In 2 ways, yeah. Doubles up on our creatures, which is pretty cool. And it stays, which I like. I mean, all of these stay. They're all artifacts. But anyway, perfect. I think 10
so much
is
for the non-artifact build.
Yeah, I know. Ugh, dang it. Honestly, though, as I was talking about it, and playing a Mana Rock on turn 2 has the same, if not better, effect as playing a Spirit on turn 2. Yeah. Like, I felt a lot better about it. So,
and you can save your cheap spirits to double spell on 3 or 4 or 5.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Double Spirit 3. You have the same amount of spirits and a Mana Rock, and then you can cast Millicent on turn 4 with 1 mana remaining for protection. I think that's really good. Okay, 10 I think is perfect. 36 lands, perfect. Should we start walking through some of these deck-specific cards and things we think we don't like?
Yep.
Or and then we'll add things we think we do like, right?
Yeah, great.
So we're already at 114, which means if we can cut 14 of these cards, we have a lot to cut. Should we look at our card types really quick? We have not added any creatures. So if we cut a bunch of creatures, we need to make sure that we have
That's what I was going to say. If we cut 14 creatures, we're going to be at 25 creatures.
So I think some of these enchantments will have to go for sure. I think, okay, we can talk about what needs to go. And we may need to cut some artifacts. Who knows? We'll talk about it. Okay. Back to this. Dorothy, Avengeful Victim is our first one here. It's a 2-mana 4/4 that you sacrifice when it attacks or blocks, but it has flying, and you can disturb it to give something +4/+4. Oh, no. To make it, whenever the creature attacks, create a 4/4 spirit token that's tapped and attacking. So, notably, the spirit token that it creates will not trigger Millicent because it's non-token spirits dealing combat damage or dying. So,
will you flip it again? So you could play it as a 2-mana thing that
deal 4
makes
damage
Millicent cheaper and then wards people off from attacking you.
Yeah, true, because you could just block it at some point.
And it also kind of like acts as like a one-time ramp piece for Millicent until you get Millicent out.
Yeah, well, and if you attack with it, you could do 4 damage to somebody, and then it creates a spirit when it hits and creates a spirit when it dies.
Yeah, okay, I like it.
I think that's pretty good. Okay, we can keep Dorothea. Haunted Library. Whenever your creature an opponent controls dies, you may pay 1 if you do create a 1/1 spirit creature token with flying. I don't think so. I don't think we want to spend our mana.
I know. In theory, I really like this card. I don't think it belongs in the deck.
No, I agree. Rattle Chains. 1 in a blue for 2/1 with flash. Love it. Flying. Love it. It's a spirit. Love it. When it enters the battlefield, target spirit gains hexproof. It's interaction. Did we have that in our interaction?
No, we should. But I actually like
interaction.
this. I actually like the second line even
Oh,
better.
you may cast spirit spells as though they have flash. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
this card's awesome.
I didn't even read that part. I read the hexproof part and liked it a lot. Yep, this card's crazy. I think we leave it in here. That's really good. Spirit Loop. Whenever a enchant creature you control, whenever a enchanted creature deals damage, you gain that much life. When it's put into a graveyard from play, return it to its owner's hand. I mean, life gain,
No,
but I don't think we care
we need
about that. Okay, out of here. Supreme Phantom. It's a 2 or 1 and a blue for a 1/3 spirit with flying, and other spirits get +1/+1. We love a spirit anthem.
Great.
I like it.
Yep. It doubles the power of all the tokens that we get to make off of Millicent.
Which is crazy. That's
Yeah.
That's a interesting way to put that. Adds a lot of context to how much power you're adding.
Yeah.
Okay, Azorius Herald, 2 and a white for a 2/1 spirit that can't be blocked. When it enters, you gain 4 life, and when it enters, you sacrifice it unless blue was spent to cast it. I'm not up on Azorius Herald.
No, I don't think we need it.
Move to considering. Cemetery Illuminator, 1 blue for a 2/3 spirit with flying. Love it, love it. When it enters battlefield or attacks, exile a card from a graveyard. Cool graveyard hate. Once each turn, you may cast a spell from the top of your library if it shares a card type with a card exiled with Cemetery Illuminator. I like it. But I also like the Cemetery Cycle. It's not the greatest spirit out there, but I really like the Cemetery Cycle.
Is it like one of the worst of the Cemetery Cycle?
Probably. I mean, honestly,
this is
I would argue it's probably
advantage.
second best. Yeah, it's like pseudo card advantage because you can cast from the top only once, right?
Yeah, and it's graveyard hate, so it's kind of interaction.
So it's kind of interaction. And
okay, let's leave it for now.
And it's once each turn, so in a perfect world, again, this may not happen, but you get Cemetery Illuminator and Rattle Chains, and then once each turn, you're casting a spirit off the top with Flash, which is kind of cool. But also, it's once each turn, so like, say you have a counterspell on top, and you exile an instant from someone's graveyard, I think that's pretty good. Oh, I'm sorry, we're on deck-specific cards. Can I add a card advantage spell that we can consider and maybe take out?
Sure, what's up?
I just thought about it. Rabble Rousing.
Oh, I don't remember what this does.
Rabble Rousing is not Rabble Rousing. Whoops. Nope, that's the wrong one.
That's good.
No. It's I'll think of it. Let's keep going.
When it comes back. Drogskull Captain. 1 white blue for a 2/2 flying. Other spirit creatures you control get +1/+1 and have hexproof. I love it.
Feels pretty good. I like Drogskull Captain. Honestly, 3 mana. Every time I see 3 mana, I'm getting a little nervous because that's a lot of mana. But I do think
I don't think we want more than 3. I think 3 is okay.
3.
I don't think we want more than 3.
Okay. Empyrean Eagle. A 2/3 bird spirit with flying. Other creatures you control with flying get +1/+1. Again, we love an anthem on a spirit.
It's a spirit.
And it's a bird.
Which is cool.
Okay. Faithbound Judge is 1 white for a 4/4 spirit soldier with defender, flying, vigilance, and a lot of other stuff that I think we don't care about. And I think we get rid of Faithbound Judge.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't want to read all that.
Us the time from reading it.
Yep. Do you want to? Sorry, you should read some.
1 white blue 2/2 hex Geist of Saint Traft. 1 white blue 2/2 hexproof. Whenever it attacks, you put a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Exile that token at the end of combat. I don't think we need this one.
I don't think we need it. I don't think we like it. Cool.
Like I said, we don't
very
need
cool spirit.
Super cool. We don't care about angel tokens. We don't need other token generation engines. Millicent is the spirit token generation engine.
And notably, Geist of Saint Traft doesn't have flying, and so it will be blocked and it will die. So I don't think we want that one in here.
Ghostly Prison is 2 and a white for an enchantment. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you. Just a stereotypical, really good white card. I don't think it does anything for this deck. We don't care about people attacking us. We got tons of blockers to just throw in front of them. I don't think we need Ghostly Prism.
Okay, we should get rid of it. Can I say, though, so thematic.
Very flavorful. Super flavorful.
So
but we're trying to pour all of our...
for now?
For now, yeah, but we're going to have to cut another 9 cards.
I know. Leave
Plus however many that we need to get the creature count back up.
And we've already cut, how many of them were creatures? 3 of them were creatures already?
At least 4.
I'm going to put it in the sideboard because I think it's very flavorful. Guardian of Faith is 1 white for a spirit knight with 3/2 with flash and vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, any number of other target creatures you control phase out. I don't think we mark this one as interaction. Nope.
No, but it should be. It's
But
great.
it should be. We're up to 17. Maybe we cut.
Yeah,
some
we're gonna have to
interaction.
cut some interaction. Yep, that's great. Good
Great
problem to
card.
have.
Great card.
Hanged Executioner is
thanks.
2 and a white for a 1/1 spirit with flying. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 spirit creature token with flying. You can pay 4 and exile it to exile a creature. Okay, I actually liked this one the first time we read it. I actually don't like it anymore.
Yeah, it's too expensive for a 1/1. It creates 2. Okay. Time out though.
Yeah,
It
three
creates 2.
3 mana to discount Millicent by 2.
It's pretty good. And they're both flying. And you can sacrifice it to create another spirit and exile a creature. It counts as an interaction in the deck.
Nope, you can't sacrifice it. It exiles.
Oh, it
So you
exiles.
will not get the Millicent trigger.
You will
off
not
of
get
it,
the Millicent trigger.
which is
You're right.
probably still fine. This is probably
fine.
still okay interaction. I don't like it that much. Why don't you put over an interaction, then we'll review it when we review our interaction.
Yeah. Wow, we have way more interaction than I thought. Okay, I'm also going to remove this tag from deck specific
Great.
so we can whoa, it moved. It jumped. Sorry everybody.
There were a
That was
couple
what
there were a couple that did that actually. That have duplicate tags now, but that's okay.
remove tag.
One of the
This one's card
did we
advantage,
put
right?
that one in card
Technically.
advantage.
Oh my gosh. What a terrible experience that this is jumping around as much as it is. Sorry, everybody. This was interaction, right?
Yeah, I think
Did I mark
one
that as
we-
interaction? I did, so I'm going to remove it from deck specific. Anthem. Now we're on Catilda.
Tilda.
Dawnheart Martyr is 1 white for a spirit warlock star flying lifelink protected from vampires. It has power and toughness equal to the number of permanents you control that are spirits and or enchantments. Sick. Right? Good? Big spirit. Big spooky spirit.
What is it dying to? What's the other? How do you transform it? It disturb for 5 and it has enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets flying lifelink in the +X thing. Okay. I would say no, except for it has lifelink. And that's
and we
going to be
don't care about
huge
lifelink all
life
that
swing.
much. But I do think it's a beefy body, which we're mostly doing go wide. But because all of our go wide stuff is flyers, at the end of the game, if we're like, you pay 5 mana to put this on a big body, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah,
right.
I think it's pretty good.
Okay, I like the disturb on this one. Just
Also,
a little
the
bit too
art
much to
is
cut.
really cool. I've never seen this art before.
Yeah, this is sick. I've never seen this art either. That's very cool. Kira Great Glass Spinner is 1 blue for a 2/2 spirit with flying. Love it. Spirit flying. Creatures you control have whenever the creature becomes the target of a spell or ability for the first time each turn. Counter that spell or ability.
It's so good.
That's
It's
really
crazy
good.
in this deck. Yeah.
It's I
awesome.
didn't realize it said creatures you control have that. That's
Yeah.
nuts. Okay, I like it.
Not even spirits. It saves our glimmers too.
Oh, cool. That's true. Which die into enchantments anyways, but hey,
Yeah.
if they have to spend
protection.
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, Mirror Entity is a 2 and a blue for a shapeshifter, changeling, 1/1.
2 and a white. For
2 and a
1/1
white,
shape
sorry.
shifter change.
Until end of turn, creatures you control have base power and toughness XX and gain all creature types. I don't know.
I think this is good. And I think it's good because like late game you have 7 spirits.
Sure.
You cast this, pump 4 mana into it, and all of your spirits are now all of your 1/1s are now 4/4s.
Oh, okay, that's pretty good. Good alpha strike. I like it. We'll leave
Yeah.
it. Nebelgast Herald, 2 and a blue for a spirit with flash. Love it. Flying. Love it. Whenever Nebelgast... Sorry, I almost said flash. Love it. Flying. Flash. Whenever
flash.
Nebelgast Herald or another spirit enters the battlefield under your control, tap target creature and opponent controls. I like this too.
Do you? I don't like this one.
Okay.
I don't
here's
like it. I'd
it's
rather
probably
we have a whole list of 1 mana spirits that we want to put in this deck, and stuff needs to come out to put
You're
the 1 mana
right.
ones in.
Okay.
And I would much rather have a 1 mana 1/1 flying spirit than this thing.
Okay. Can I provide an argument for it in that the art is cool. I like the art. Very cool. And
You know I'm all for that argument.
and it's similar to Mirror Entity. It will tap down blockers, except
It's
that
not similar to Mirror
it's not as
Entity.
good because our stuff's
Except
not
for
going to be
it's
blocked
not
anyways
even
because they're
close.
flying. All right, fine. All right.
No.
Patrician Geist, 2 and a blue for a 2/2 spirit knight with flying. Other spirits get +1/+1, and spells you cast from your graveyard cost 1 less to cast. Is Disturb casting? It is.
Yeah. So this was made for Disturb. I don't think we care about that. And so the question is, do you want a 3 mana 2/2 Lord?
Anthem. Yeah, 2/2 Lord. We have two of them. We have three
At
other
2 mana.
lords and a 2-mana one. No, two of them are at 3 mana.
Oh, 2 of them are 3 mana.
With an additional pip. And I think this is like, I mean, Droxel Captain is the best one.
Yeah.
Empyrean Eagle is the worst one.
It's
If
probably
we're going to
true.
cut one, we should cut Empyrean Eagle over.
Okay. Well, let's just keep
Patrician
this one for
Geist.
now. I think it's fine.
Okay. Don't you think? Because this one gives
Yeah.
spirits.
I think
I
you're
mean,
right.
all of our spirits are flying for the most part, anyways. Priest of the Blessed Graph, 2 and a white for a 1/2 human cleric, not a spirit. At the beginning of your end step, create X 1/1 spirit creature tokens with flying, or X is the number of opponents who have more lands than you. Boo, gone. Not a spirit. We don't care. This contributes to our creature count, but not in a good way.
Ooh.
Promise of Bunray.
I love this card.
The art is freaking sick. Is what I'll
It's
say.
sick. I
about card
found
to
this
begin
for
with.
a different deck that I was working on, and I'm very excited to see it in this deck.
It's cool. This was for your Goldbug deck, right?
No. Nope. It was for. I think it was for Kaikar
Oh, sick. Very cool.
because it's 3.
Oh, because the spirits, you could sacrifice the spirits for red. Oh, that's
so
sick.
it's actually a ritual.
That's very cool.
Yeah, because what you can do. Okay, here's how this works. You pay 3 mana to cast it. You get a spirit from Kaikar because it's a non-creature. And then you sacrifice the spirit for a red mana, which then sacrifices this to create 4 more spirits for 4 red mana. So for 3 mana, you get 5 red mana.
This is an enchantment seething song in white in Kaikar.
Yeah, which you can slow roll because if you don't need to sacrifice it for mana right away, you can just leave it on the battle. You can pay the 3 mana, leave it on the battlefield, and then cash in on it whenever you want to.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's wild.
That's
It's
very
so cool.
That's sick
Yeah.
tech in that deck. All right,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to build the Bird Bros. We've
Yeah,
talked
the
about
Bird Bros
building
decks.
building our 3-color bird decks. Okay, Promise of Bunray, really cool in Kaikar. I don't love it for this deck.
No,
It's
because I don't think we care about creating spirit tokens.
No, and we don't have a way to actively sacrifice. Like, so if this was 3 mana, create 4 spirits, discount
Yeah,
those
it'd be
by 4.
great.
Yeah, but
That's
the fact
kind of
that
like Lingering Souls,
yeah,
which
right,
is a great
exactly.
card.
But I don't think we want this one, so we'll put it in considering. Twilight Drover, 2 and a white for a 1/1 spirit. Whenever a creature token leaves the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Twilight Drover, and you can pay 2 and a white to remove a +1/+1 counter, create 2 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying. This is one that I actually, we looked at this list, and even after looking at this list, I was like, this is a sick card. We should put it in here. I don't know.
I don't know anymore. It seems slow. I'd
Yeah,
rather
me
just
too.
be playing spirits. It's
I
kind of
agree.
finicky.
Yeah, and doesn't have flying, and I think we
And
really
there's a
want
lot of
flyers.
things that could go wrong with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anointed Procession. Crazy card.
So
Very
busted.
good. Should we just leave it in? Do we leave it in? I think it's really good.
I think so.
Yeah.
Part of me just wants to put a couple of token multipliers out here. Is this the one we want? Honestly, we probably want Oger Talk more. than
Oger. Oh yeah. Okay. Oger Talk is more expensive though. This is cheaper.
Yeah, but we're not making tokens until late game after we've cast Millicent.
Yeah. Between that,
I'd rather-
between this Oger Talk and time out.
And
Between this
Mondrak?
Oger Talk and Mondrak and one more, Roaming Throne. Which one do we want to run?
Roaming Throne.
Roaming, do we just put Roaming Throne is crazy because it also doubles the death triggers.
Yeah. Let's take out Anointed Procession. Let's put in Roaming Throne.
Okay.
Plus, it counts as a spirit.
Yep, which is awesome. Dude, Roaming Throne's so good. Holy crap. Okay, Anointed Procession. Move to... Okay, can we leave Anointed Procession? Natalie does have a copy of Anointed Procession, so we'll probably want to
sick.
play
Cool.
it. So I think...
Put it in.
I think even though we're proxying, I think this is one that they've been excited about having in the deck. Why did I almost move that to considering? This is going to be deck specific.
Deck specific.
Okay, I put Ghostly Prison in the sideboard because I wanted to play it and you wouldn't let me. Okay, we were up in the 3 mana slots though. Anointed Procession, we're gonna leave it in there.
Yeah.
Brago King Eternal.
Nope.
Yep, I don't think this is a Brago deck, even though he's a spirit.
Yep.
Breath of the Sleepless. You may cast spirit spells though they have flash. Whenever you cast a creature spell. No, we're doing this for cheaper on Supreme Phantom, which is cooler. Custody Spellbinders. Human Cleric.
Not a spirit.
Nope, gone. Donal, Herald of Wings. 2 blue, human wizard, not a spirit. Should we read it? Whenever you cast an elemental creature creature spell with flying, you may copy it, except the copy is a 1/1 spirit in addition to another type. No, I don't think so. Right?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. We're making room for all the little spirits.
The little
that we want.
boys.
Yeah.
Drog Skull Reinforcements. 3 and a white for a 2/2 with melee. When it attacks, it gets +1/+1 for each opponent you attack this combat. That's kind of sick, actually. Other
reading.
spirits have melee. Really sick. Prevent all non-combat damage that we dealt to spirits you control.
Yeah.
So
this card's
sick.
wild.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good high-end spirit.
It gives your spirits +3/+3.
Yeah, that's insane. That's so good. Field of Souls, 2 white for an enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, create a 1/1 spirit creature. No, that's we have that.
It's just
already.
Millicent.
This is Anointed Procession, but worse because it only
Sure.
triggers on death, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Actually, can I say I like that Roaming Throne counts as a spirit. I part of my argument was that it works on death triggers, but so does Anointed Procession. It's whenever we create a spirit token. So that was a silly thing of me to say.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, Anointed Procession doesn't die to board wipes,
Which is good.
but even then, I think we probably still just want Ojo Talk because Ojo Talk can
Dies into a land.
To flip it back, you have to attack with 3 or more creatures, which you could immediately do the next turn because you're going to create spirits whenever your spirits die.
Yeah, that's actually really good. Okay, Ojo Talk's crazy. All right, Ojo Talk could be a cool top end. Should we add it in right now?
Maybe. I mean, just put it in for now, and then we can.
Ojo Talk, Deepest Foundation.
Foundation.
Very cool. Deck specific. All right. It's a 6/6, 6-mana 6/6 with vigilance. Triples the number of tokens you make, and then it dies into a land that you can pay 3 mana to flip over, which is crazy. Okay. Hallowed Haunting. Oh, no. Drug Soul Reinforcements we just read. Yep. So Hallowed Haunting was our next one. 2 white. As long as you control 7 or more enchantments, creatures you control have flying and vigilance. Nope. We don't care about this.
Yep.
It cares about casting enchantment spells, and it makes spirits that are big, but we don't care about enchantments. So Hollowhenge Spirit is 3 and a white for a 2/2 with flash and flying, and when it enters the battlefield, remove target attacking creature. No, I don't think we like this.
No.
Although it is Misleading Signpost on a spirit, but I don't think we care.
Misleading Signpost is a rock.
Yeah. Okay. Mirror Hall Mimic. You may have it enter the battlefield. It's a copy of any creature on the battlefield except as a spirit in addition to other types. I love this. It has Disturb too, which is crazy.
I feel like the part of me doesn't want to put this in the deck, but it's one of my favorite cards, and I love
me
clones.
too.
Yeah.
This is one that I actually have like 3 copies of that I was like, what's a good deck for this? And I think this is a perfect deck for it because copy effects are already very good. I think copy effects are insane. The fact that whatever you copy is a spirit too is also insane. And I like that this has Disturb. Because
the Disturb is good.
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy good. Oh, what is the Disturb? I was thinking Disturb brings it back as itself, but it flips it. Enchant creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of enchanted creature. It gives a spirit in addition to other types, and you exile it if it would die. But you can enchant an opponent's creature. It's not a creature you control. That's crazy.
Yep, you just get one every upkeep.
When you disturb it, does it just is it technically casting an enchantment?
Yeah.
Okay.
You cast it transformed. I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
you have to be able to target something when you're enchanting it.
Because I was curious if Supreme Phantom will let us cast it for
can.
flash. Okay, it won't let us do that. Okay. Roaming Throne, we just added it. We love it. Spectral Arcanist is 3 and a blue for a 3/2 Spirit Wizard with flying. When it enters the battlefield, you may cast an instant sorcery with mana value less than equal to the number of spirits you control from a graveyard without paying its mana cost. That's kind of sick. That's kind of sick. Really high ceiling, really low floor.
Yeah.
But like, say at very worst, let's say at very worst it's 0. But at very worst in like a real world where people are actually playing Magic and putting spells into their graveyard, this is a 4-mana 3/2 spirit that gets like an Infernal Grasp or a Night's Whisper or something, right? So it draws you 2 cards. That's like not bad.
Is it from any graveyard or is it
a graveyard?
A graveyard. Okay, I'm in.
I like it. I like recursion effects, so I like this one a lot. We're down to 99 cards, by the way, so we got space. We made space, baby.
But
And
only
we have
31.
17 pieces of interaction
we only
that
have 31 creatures, though.
Oh, we only have 31? Yeah, but part of what we're going to add is creatures. We're adding creatures.
Yes. I'm just saying we only have room to add 1 right now, so we got
I know. We'll add more, though.
Okay.
Okay.
Windborn Muse, 3 and a white for a 2/3 spirit with flying. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you. This is Ghostly Prison on a spirit.
Okay, yeah. Ghostly Prison's gone. Bye. We have Windborn Muse. I like it. Okay. Karmic Guide, 3 white, protection from black. When it enters the battlefield, return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. I actually don't think we like Karmic Guide. I think we play smaller spirits.
I think so too.
Right?
Can I tell you? For a second I thought that Echo was what's the one? Encore. I thought it was Encore, and I was like, this is so good. It's not.
No,
it's
Echo's
Echo.
much worse, unfortunately. Yeah. Okay, move to considering. Reflections of Lityara. We don't like this card. This is a tribal trap, in our opinion.
Even though I had one of the craziest pre-con games I have ever had in my entire life with the Reflections of Lityara the other day. I basically stormed off with the Hawkball Merfolk pre-con and cast like 10 or
half
15
of your deck
spells in a turn. Yeah, it was pretty wild.
It was unfortunate. It was really fortunate for you, unfortunate for the table.
Awesome.
It was crazy. But I think like if we're going to play a 5 mana typal enchantment, Kindred Discovery wins. So.
Yeah, I think this is a typal trap. I don't think this goes in decks.
Okay, Osier Talk, we just added it. We like it. Storm of Souls. I don't like Storm of Souls. I think we have better options than Storm of Souls in this deck. It is 4 white for a sorcery. Return all creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, except each of them is a 1/1 spirit creature with token with flying in addition to its other types, and then exile Storm of Souls.
So let me tell you why I think maybe this is a good card.
Okay.
Because it's not creating a 1/1 token for each of your creatures in your graveyard. They're actually coming back. So then when they die again,
they create spirits.
They create 1/1 spirits when they die.
Yes. Okay.
They do come back as non-tokens.
They do come back as non-tokens. So I like that because they die back into spirits when we have Millicent out. Mm-hmm. It is 6 mana, which I don't like. It exiles, which I don't like after reading Spectral Arcanist, which is very niche, I know. But the last thing that makes me down on this card is that we're talking about including some cards that get back our creatures with mana value 2 or less from the graveyard for cheaper, and a lot of our cheap creatures are not are like 2/1s. They're not 1/1s. They have bigger stats, but we're playing a lot of 3 CMC creatures right now, and so it won't get those, which is not as good.
A Storm of Souls will.
But Storm of Souls will, yeah.
And if we have our anthems, our lords in the graveyard, then they come back and they pump them anyways.
And they're 3/3s, yeah. Okay, I like Storm of Souls, but then maybe that means we aren't able to play some of these other ones that we like.
Yeah.
So
let's see what our curve looks like by the time we finish.
Okay. And that brings us to Drogskull Cavalry, which is 5 white for a 4/4 flying. If another spirit enters under control, you gain 2 life, and you can pay. I don't like this one. I think we remove this one. I think if we are gonna play a 7 mana spirit, what is it? Let's see.
Drogskull Reaver.
Drogskull Reaver. Thank you, Drogskull Reaver. Which do we even want to play Drogskull Reaver?
I don't think so, but
it's same mana value for a 3/5 flying double strike lifelink, and whenever you gain life, draw a card.
What's cool about this is if it gets through and deals the combat damage, because it has double strike, it'll trigger Millicent twice, and you'll get 2 spirits, which is cool. And you gain 6 life, which I think is awesome. I still don't want to play this at 7 mana.
We want
the 1 and 2, and then top end 3.
Yep. And for some of our favorites, for some of our favorite children.
Sure.
Like Drogskull Reinforcements, which will make all of our spirits 5/5s, 4/4s, I guess. Yeah, that's crazy. Good. Okay, we're at 96.
Really quick, we have too much card advantage and interaction. I mean, probably not too much card advantage. The first thing that we said about this deck was we want more card advantage. So I actually don't think 15 is too much. No. But we do have way too much interaction.
Yes, and I do think if we have too much card advantage, something like Idol of Oblivion might be the first one that I cut.
Yeah, or Bygone Bishop. Yeah.
Or Bygone Bishop. But Bygone Bishop is a spirit.
But I don't think we have too much. I think
Yep.
15
Okay. I think 15 is solid. I like 15. That feels like a good number to me. And if we add 4 creatures right now, that puts us up to 100 cards, 32 creatures, which is not 35, but pretty close to where we want to be, probably.
33
especially
creatures,
with this many
including
card
Millicent.
advantage pieces. Okay. Our interaction. We're currently playing an offer you can't refuse. Final Showdown. I'm fine cutting Final Showdown. I think the art on Final Showdown is sick. I think it's one of my favorite cards. Natalie may not love it, and I don't think it's like...
Does that mean we go down to 1 board wipe, though?
Oh, true. Maybe we keep playing this because we do want the board wipe. All right, we keep this one. I like Galadriel's Dismissal. It phases.
Yep.
Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares, I think we keep.
I think we could get rid of Arcane Denial.
Yeah, Arcane Denial we can remove. Move to Considering. Rattle Chains. We like it. It's on a spirit. Remorseful Cleric. We like it. It's on a spirit.
Yeah,
Right?
and it's very loosely interaction. It's just graveyard hate.
It's just Graveyard Hate. Shacklegeist. Also very loosely interaction. On a spirit. It's 2 mana. We like it. Spectral Adversary. Again, loosely interaction. On a spirit. We
It's
like
just
it.
phase out. Yep.
And it's just phase out. And as a spirit, I don't think we want to cut any of this spirit-based interaction.
No.
So Geistlight Snare would be the next one on our list.
I like Geistlight Snare. I don't.
Okay, I think we
get rid
keep
of
it. Generous Gift, I like.
Yep.
Guardian of Faith, I like.
Yep.
Hanged Executioner, I like.
Yep.
Ish. I do like. No, I
Ish.
like it because it ramps us into Millicent.
It does. Yeah, it does.
It's 2 bodies. Early,
fine.
it ramps us into Millicent, which I think is good. And late, it's 7 mana for removal, which sucks. But, not the worst thing in the world.
It does exile.
It does Exile, which is very good. Stroke of Midnight, Clever Concealment.
I think this is good.
I think this is
So much of this is like loosely interaction that
Yep.
I don't feel like this is going to play like you have 17.
No, and a
counter
lot of
spells
it
in
is
your deck.
protection too, right? A lot of it is protection
It's
or
phase out.
or and phase out stuff. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think we've okay. I think we should take a note here and say we said 13, and we actually just did an episode on is 13 too much. We just did an episode on that. I think, like you were saying, enough of this is loose interaction, and I think we're indexing so hard on protection and phasing out that this won't feel like we're just controlling the board like crazy. It's just that we're protecting our board state, which I don't care about as much.
Yep.
So I think it's
this is
good.
fine.
10 pieces of ramp. We're still happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd be happy to cut Springleaf Drum if we need to.
Will you show me what the curve looks like right now?
Yeah. So we still have a lot of 4 mana permanents. Do we need to cut? Do we cut Bident of Thassa maybe?
Let's cut. I mean, I personally do like Bident of Thassa better than Reconnaissance Mission.
Okay.
It's like pseudo goading because we have creatures to block with.
That's true. Okay, yeah, so let's cut Reconnaissance Mission. What do you think?
Yeah,
I think-
I almost never cycle a Reconnaissance Mission. I know you can. I almost never do. Okay, let's cut Ojir Talk.
Ojir Talk, okay. Because we already have Anointed Procession and Roaming Throne,
Yeah.
which we're happy with.
Because the benefit to Roaming Throne is it's not just copying Millicent's ability.
Right, exactly. It's copying all of our other spirits.
All of our
abilities,
spirits,
which is huge.
which are great.
Yep, I like that a lot. Okay, that puts us at 11 4-mana permanents, which I don't hate. That's pretty solid.
We're gonna
And
add in
then-
some more 1 and 2s.
We're going to add in some more 1 and 2. So I think we're in a pretty good spot right now. Let's talk about adding in some of the stuff we wanted to add.
Because right now we only get to add in 7.
Right now
And
we
they
only
all
add
have
7.
to, and they all have to be creatures if we're gonna hit
we all
our
want them to be creatures.
35 mark.
Yep, and we have some other stuff that we maybe wanted to add that wasn't creatures. But let's start with the creatures.
Yeah.
And let's start with the creatures. There's one that's pseudo a creature that I want to add, but we can talk about that later.
Can I just read through 6 1-mana spirits, and
Yep,
we can
and
talk about which of the 1-mana spirits we want to add?
And should we just add them in, and then we can talk about them as we...
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, and then we have how many... We went through and started talking about spirits beforehand that we thought were kind of cool. So 2, 4, 6, 8. And then we have 9 2-mana spirits.
Yep.
And then we have some other ones that we also think are really cool.
Yep.
Okay, so the 1-mana ones... Dreamcatcher is 1 blue mana for a 1/1 spirit. Whenever you play spirit or arcane spell, you may sacrifice Dreamcatcher. If you do, you draw a card.
Okay. The thing I like about Dreamcatcher is that you can draw a card with it. The thing I don't like about it is it doesn't have flying. And I think we really want our creatures
Let's just
to have
say
flying.
no.
Okay.
This one I do think we should add. It's Indebted Spirit. It's 1 white mana for a 1/1 enchantment creature spirit for Modern Horizons 3. Has Bestow 2 and a white, and it has Afterlife 1. So when this permanent is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you create a 1/1 black and white spirit creature token with flying, and then if you do cast it for its Bestow cost, then the enchanted creature gets +1/+1. And it has Afterlife 1. So this is a 1 mana 1/1 spirit that, if Millicent is out, will die into 2 1/1s.
Right, if
think
Millicent
that's
will die
real
into 2
good.
ones, which is really good. And you can bestow it on another creature if we need to, and make that creature bigger. Likely, we will not be doing that at any point. And this one doesn't have flying. We just complain about creatures having flying. This is a way better upside than our other creature. That
Yeah, it dies into two flyers.
dies
which
into 2
is
flyers when Millicent is on the battlefield. I like that one a lot. What other ones were we talking about?
Kami of the False Hope.
False Hope. Yes.
White mana for a 1/1 spirit. Sacrifice it to prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn.
Kami of
awesome.
False Hope.
Yep.
There you go.
Lantern Bearer is
This
1
one
mana
also
for
doesn't have flying. I'm sorry, this one doesn't have flying, but we like it because it has additional.
I think it's fine. I think for a
value.
lot of the 1 mana ones, that's okay.
Yep. Okay.
Lantern Bearer, 1 mana, 1/1 flyer with Disturb 3, and it can disturb to give something 1/1 and flying. +1/+1 flying. I don't know that we need this one, to be honest.
Yeah, I like that it's a 1/1 flyer. It doesn't have much utility outside of that, so we can remove that one. Great.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so the 2 other ones are Lantern Kami, which is a white mana for a 1/1 spirit with flying. That's it. So technically, Lantern Bearer is just better than that.
Is
so if
better.
we don't want Lantern Bearer, we probably don't want this one.
Yeah, I do like the 1 mana spirits though. I think the 1 mana spirits are going to be pretty good in this deck because they are
Okay.
just ramping us to.
Well, what about Topplegeist? White mana for a
Yes.
1/1 flyer. It enters the battlefield. You tap a creature an opponent controls, and then it has Delirium at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep. If there are 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard, you tap a creature that player controls. So good.
So good.
Yeah,
I think
this
that's
is
sick.
probably the best of the 1 mana ones.
Yeah, I think so too. And so if we were going to put in another one, I think Lantern Bearer would be a good choice.
I think so
but
too.
I don't think we have to do that.
I don't think we need to. What? How many are we at now? We only get 4 more ads.
4 more ads, but we can keep adding more and then remove some of the stuff that we don't think we need in the deck.
Sure.
And we can jump to lands if we need to because our curve is pretty low.
No, you are dealing with the wrong person here to
All
cut
right.
lands. Let's keep talking about creatures. Let's talk about some of the 2 mana ones. I think some of the highlights are like Dust Animus.
Yeah, for sure.
Dust Animus is really cool. It's a 2 mana 2/3 flyer spirit, and then it has plot for 1 and a white. And so if you control 5 or more untapped lands, it enters with 2 1/1 counters on it and a lifelink counter, which is pretty good. So you can plot it and then cast it later for free when you have 5 untapped lands to have a
pretty
bigger
good.
Dust Animus. It's really, really good.
That's really good. Also,
really,
I'm
really
going to
good.
apologize to everybody. I realized just now that I don't think I've been scrolling down enough to show these above our heads at some points. So I apologize. Hopefully we've been reading them enough that you've been able
Gotcha.
to know what we're talking about. But that is my fault there. I apologize.
Can I share one that I don't know if it's good,
Yeah, please.
but it seems really cool? It's Ghost Lit Warder. Yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
1 and a blue for a 1/1. You can pay 4 mana and tap it to counter a spell unless its controller pays 2. You can also channel it from your hand for 4 mana to counter a spell unless its controller pays 4.
I'll tell you what. I love channel. And especially for countering spells because then it's uncounterable. Basically.
And it's an activated ability
Right.
on the other side to counter a spell.
Right. I don't think it's good enough as a spirit on our deck, and I think we're pretty set on interaction. If we wanted to replace some of our interaction with this, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm okay with that. Something that I don't think we need it. I think we can. Well, yeah. For me, it would replace interaction. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
do
think
we
should
want
have
to
this in.
replace one of our interaction? Do we want to replace like Geistlight Snare with it, or Offer You Can't Refuse?
I mean, it's so cool.
It is cool. It's
What
cool
if we got rid of an
deck.
offer you can't refuse?
Yeah, it's much worse than an offer you can't refuse.
It's way
I will say.
worse. And I think we want an offer you can't refuse for Millicent, or
Yeah.
to cast Millicent.
Right.
Okay, let's just not put it in, but maybe one of our listeners will put it in their Millicent deck.
Yeah, exactly. And then they'll tell us about it. Tell us how good it is.
Something I do think is really good, though, is Selfless Spirit. 2 mana, 2/1 flyer. You can sacrifice it to give creatures you control indestructible.
Yeah, I love that it's flying too. I think flying is so big for us.
A couple others that I think are kind of borderline. Twin Blade Geist, which is a 2 mana 1/1 with double strike. It doesn't have flying, which is why I don't think we should include it. But it does disturb to give something double strike. So then we can give one of our flyers double strike.
Could be kind of cool. The double strike is nice for creating multiple spirits.
That's the only reason I can think to include it.
And
I think it still might be a little weak.
The best case scenario with this is turn 2 Twin Blade Geist, turn 3 Anthem, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
then it's
With
a
any of
2/2
the anthems,
double
this
strike.
gets really good really fast.
Yeah. The problem is you play this on turn 2, you have to wait till turn 5 until you have out Millicent, and everyone has blockers, and you won't be able to get through with this. So
Yeah. I don't think we should include this.
I think it's fun, but I don't think it's the right one here.
The last 2 mana one that I think is interesting enough to talk about is probably Strict Proctor, which is 2
Strict
mana for a 1/3
Proctor.
flyer. Whenever a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability to trigger counter that ability unless it's controller pays 2. Do we have few enough ETBs that this is going to be good? I don't know how to tell how many ETBs we have, but I don't think we have
ETB.
that many.
ETB.
We're at 3.
Enter the battlefield would cause
okay.
this.
Okay, we don't want it. Okay,
Yeah.
we don't want it. That's fine.
What
yeah, go
about didn't we talk about not Dust Animus, Strict Proctor. What about Fog Walker? Was that the one we were excited about?
It's kind of cool. Yeah, it's a 2 mana 1/3 a Skulk, and when it ETBs, opponent's creature just on tap. So the question is, do we want Skulk to be able to get it in for combat damage? If that's the only reason we want it, I think we would almost be better playing Flitter Step Eidolon, which is 1 and a blue for a 1/1. It just can't be blocked, and you can bestow it to give a creature +1/+1. It can't be. Yeah.
I keep pressing just enter. I apologize. So we have Fog Walker instead of.
And what's cool about Flitter Step is you can make something unblockable, and then when that thing dies, then
bestow it sticks.
Falls
I forgot
off
that
onto a
bestow it falls
spirit
off.
that then
That's sick.
dies, and then you can
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, bestow's pretty cool.
I like bestow. I like that one better than Fog Walker. But were there any other 2 mana ones that we were particularly excited about? Most of them were probably like 3, I think, right?
There's some. So in terms of interaction, I do think there's some cool 3 mana ones. So this one, I'm going to shout this one out again as something that I would probably put in the deck because I think it's cool. Very similar to Ghostlit Warder, but I don't think belongs in this deck. And it's Kalo Jushi. And it's an old flip card from Kamigawa. So it's a human. It's a 3 mana human. Whenever you play a spirit, you get to put a key counter on it. And then at the end of turn, if there are 2 or more key counters on it, you can flip it, and it flips into a spirit. And you can remove a key counter to counter a spell unless its controller pays 2.
There we go. Jaraku the Interloper.
Yeah, this seems crazy to me.
Yeah, this seems pretty nuts.
So I think it's really cool. I don't think we should put it in this deck, but I think it's really cool. And I think if you're building a different version of this deck, I think I see like a much more Azorius Stacks control version of this deck that I think would be really cool.
Yeah,
and this is the one that I would put in it.
Yeah, I mean it's sick though. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. But I think 2 pieces of interaction that are on 3 mana spirits that I think are better are Skyclave Apparition.
Okay.
So it's 3 mana for a 2/2 spirit. When it ETBs, you exile up to 1 target non-land, non-token permanent you don't control with mana value 4 or less. And then when this one leaves, they get the controller of the exiled card gets to make an XX creature token where X is the mana value of that card that you had exiled.
So I'd be fine replacing like
But if we did Stroke of Midnight
yeah, I like
or
that.
Generous Gift. Generous Gift is worse than Stroke of Midnight, right?
Yeah, Generous Gift hits lands, but
Yeah.
let's replace Generous Gift with it. I like that.
Okay. And
Okay,
then
that puts us
Spell
another
Queller
three.
is another
Spell
piece of
Queller.
interaction that's just stapled
Okay.
onto a spirit. It's 1 white blue for a 2/3 spirit with flash and flying. When it ETBs, you can exile a spell with mana value 4 or less, and when it leaves the battlefield, that the owner gets to cast it without paying its mana cost. So it
that's
just
kind of a
delays
fun
the
one.
spell.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
kinda
cool. It's cool. It feels very tricky.
Yeah, that is pretty tricky.
which
I
is
think Natalie
sweet.
would like that a lot.
Okay. So it might be worth it.
Okay. All right. So should we take a look here? 35 creatures. Oh, beautiful. Right on the money. Let's take a look. 14 pieces of card advantage. 16 pieces of interaction. Without the ones that we've missed some of these as tagging them as interaction, right? Call Me False Hope, technically interaction. Selfless Spirit, technically
Spirit.
interaction.
Spell
Skyclave
Queller's
Apparition.
Yeah.
Spell
This
Queller.
deck's going to have a lot of interaction.
Yeah, but that's Azorius for you though, right? Like, and so much of this is protection that I don't feel that bad about it.
And so much of it is just stapled to a spirit, which I
Right.
think is where you want it to be.
Exactly.
Because what non-spirit stuff we have: Offer You Can't Refuse, Final Showdown, Galadriel's Dismissal, Commune False, Path to Exile, Swords of Plowshares,
Geistlight Snare.
Geistlight Snare,
6.
Stroke of Midnight,
7.
Starfall, Convocation, Clever Concealment. So yeah, there's like 9.
8, 9. I mean, we could just look at instants and sorceries. Windfall's card draw. This is card draw. So we're looking at 10. Technically, is one of these card draw also 10 that are
Yeah.
interaction.
Maybe just cut Path to Exile. Do we need Path to Exile? Do we need more? I guess. Do we need more targeted removal? Do we need more spot removal? Probably.
Let's look at how much is spot removal.
Oh, Storm of Souls was the other one that isn't interaction piece.
Oh, no, yeah, it isn't. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay. So in terms of target removal, spot removal, we have Stroke of Midnight, Spell Queller. Technically, it's just a delay.
No, but that one only hits a spell.
Oh, but that's a creature spell. Creature is a spell.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So technically, but it's a delay. Skyclave Apparition, Hanged Executioner.
Technically, Hanged Executioner.
Yeah, technically.
But probably not.
Geistlight Snare can hit a spell, but like we'll not count counter spells towards our spot removal. Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile.
So it's like 5.
5, yeah, 5.5. So I think it's pretty solid. I think this is good. And so much of it is stable to spirits. I love that.
I think this is a good first draft. There were some other things that we were particularly interested in as we were looking at this. We thought that it would be really cool to have like Ao, the Dawn Sky, and Kyrie, the Swirling Sky, the 2 dragon spirits from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Those could be really cool top end pieces for a spirits deck. We also wanted to include potentially a lot of reanimation for small stuff, so stuff like Helping Hand, Jolted Awake, Recommission, Dewdrop Cure, Savine's Reclamation, Raise the Past. We thought those could all be really fun as well. If we ended up having we ended up with quite a few more, I think, 3 mana spirits than we were anticipating. So I don't think those are going to be quite as good, but still could be potentially good to add to the deck if that's something that you're interested in.
Yeah, I think absolutely.
But
I'm
I
really
like
happy
where this
with the
ended
amount
up.
of I'm happy with the amount of 2 and 3 mana spell or 1 and 2 mana spells that we ended up with.
Yeah.
Because I think we ended up with like what is this 13, 12 plus 17, 29 that are under 3 mana, which is pretty good. And then, I think this is solid. And one of these is Geistlight Snare, which we're going to cast for 2 mana basically always, right? Mm-hmm. And some of these have Convoke. Oh, one of the ones I wanted to put in here that we didn't put in that I think is really fun is Invasion of Segovia.
Yeah, that's really cool. So that's 2 and a blue for a Battle Siege. When it enters, you create 2 1/1 blue Kraken creature tokens with trample. We don't care about that at all. We just want to deal 4 damage to it, flip it into Kaidus, Sea Tyrant of Segovia, which is a 3/3 legendary creature serpent, and it gives non-creature spells you cast Convoke. And at the beginning of your end step, you get to untap up to 4 creatures. We're also not playing that many non-creature
I
spells.
misread that. I thought it said spells you control have Convoke. So never mind. I don't like Invasion of Segovia. Bad.
I mean, I still like it. This is another one that goes in my Kaikar deck. So.
For sure. Yeah, that's crazy in Kaikar because you can tap them to Convoke and then also sacrifice them
for the mana.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we could go with some. I think there's probably some cool battles in here. We'd have a really easy time flipping battles. We didn't go that direction, but I think we would have. I think that could be cool. A fun way to go. There's the one that flips into.
Oh my gosh! Actually, Invasion of Gobakon could be so good.
Yes, that's what I was just thinking. Can we let's see if we can flip something for Invasion of Gobakon.
I gotta remember how to spell Gobakon.
Gobakon and Light Shield Array.
Yeah. We really want it for Light Shield Array.
Yeah, holy crap, that's insane. When Invasion of Gobakon enters the battlefield, look at the top. Look at target opponent's hand. You may exile a non-land card for as long as it remains exiled. They can cast it, but it costs 2 more to cast. And then when you flip it, which only takes 3 damage, which we will very easily be able to do, it says at the beginning of at your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that attacked this turn, and you sacrifice Light Shield Array, and creatures you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. That is so good.
What if we replaced? Can you turn the tags back on? What if we replaced one of our interaction pieces with this?
Sure. I was gonna say we could also replace like Springleaf Drum, like.
Just do less. Yeah, but we actually are going to end up needing ramp in this deck. We didn't end up with quite as low of a curve as we wanted. So 10 actually may not even be enough ramp.
True.
But what if we got rid of
something not on a creature though, right?
Yeah, ideally. Which is not much.
It's not that much. I mean, we could cut Final Showdown.
Are we okay with not having board wipes? I mean, like we're gonna be the creature deck.
We're gonna be the creature deck. I'll tell you what. The downside to Final Showdown
it costs 1,000 mana if you do all of them.
Yeah, but you don't want to do all of them because Millicent.
You don't want to turn off Millicent.
You don't want to turn off Millicent. And say someone hits this like off the top with something to cast from your library or graveyard. You don't want them to be able to make your creatures not have abilities either. That's such a niche scenario. But
let's just cut Final Showdown.
Yeah, cool, really cool card. We'll cut it. Natalie, if you want to play Final Showdown,
wow, it's only like $6 right now too.
I know, it's freaking sick though. It's a cool card. Invasion of Gobakon is huge. I'm so glad we had a little battle tangent because that is such an insane battle.
Yeah, it's really cool for this deck. Okay, we're done. We're not making any more changes because this is a good first draft. Like we said, it's not perfect. It's not going to be perfect, but it is a good draft that we can now go goldfish and play test and show to Natalie and get some feedback on. So we're happy with where that landed.
I agree. I think it's a good spot. I think thanks everybody for watching. I think this was a really good chat about Millicent Restless Revenant, and I'm especially excited about this one because this is one we did recommend, as Kelton had mentioned, about a deck that people could play, should pick up if they're just getting into the game. And so if you wanted to upgrade this at some point later, this is potentially a good list. I don't know how different this is from the existing deck list. Could be very different.
Pretty different.
But just some ideas for you to include in your Millicent list if you needed some. So everybody, thank you for listening. Thanks for stopping by. This is another long episode. These are going to be long by the nature of them. So if you stuck with us, thank you. And if you didn't, we're very mad at you and you'll never know because you didn't listen to this point anyways. Please check in next week for our next episode. We release weekly. We love you guys. Thank you for always listening. Thanks for supporting us. And until next time, remember to always pay the rent.